hard then to remove them. So you want to make sure you put it in the right spot. Here's a fire door that would automatically shut. It's attached to the alarm system. So and these have to be labeled. And a lot of times you'll need, like if you go into hotels, they have an elevator bank, and usually you'll see somewhere that there's a door like this that will close off that bank to keep it sealed in case of a fire. Because that bank, the elevators then become a way for the smoke to go between the floors, and you don't want that. So you have to seal off all that kind of stuff. But in normal operation, you want it to appear open and carefree. So you have to, and there's ways of hiding these that get more and more fancy. This door hardware is what you would specify for the hinges, the locks. If you look back there, you got a closer on top that closes the door automatically. You got hinges, you got a doorknob, you've got a strike plate, and you might have, sometimes on an outside door, you'll have something at the bottom, like that would be the sill plate, but you don't have that usually on inside doors. Fenestration performance. Window testing. So they have to make sure that it meets code as far as strength, depending on where it's going to be used. If you around here, if you don't have windows rated up to, on the island, I think it's 120 miles an hour, then you have to board your windows up with 5/8 inch plywood, or you're supposed to, or your insurance will say they won't pay you when it's all destroyed. So this is an apparatus that's used to test that. And they do window. I thought I had a video somewhere. I don't know if it's on this one or not. But they do all kinds of tests to make sure that it meets the water penetration, the wind, everything. And this is what can happen if it doesn't meet it. I don't know. I think it was Alicia. That's probably before y'all were born. But in Houston, when that, or even Ike, I guess, when that hit, you saw the older buildings where the windows would pop out. A lot of that's due to pressure, but then also, if something projects to it, things flying around that the winds pick up, hits that window, and then it loosens it and it falls out, and then that whole building can be, blown apart. That's just some of the labels that would go on there so that you can know that you got what you ordered, what you paid for. They're looking for fire, you might be looking for fire, egress, accessibility, meaning for ADA standards, accidental breakage, emergency escape, structural performance, resistant to wind and rain, thermal performance, impact resistance, and blast resistance. Blast resistance is even tougher than impact because you see that a lot on banks or military installations, where you might have the truck bomber going up there. You got to make sure that your windows don't blow out when they come in. And that's the specifications. Again, that's in section 8. Windows and doors are all in the same section. So I didn't have a video on that. So we got some time. So what I want to do is I'm going to make copies of this, but let's see. I'm just going to ask you questions. This way. Put on my glasses. So this is what architects would do in selecting windows and doors, or how would you select it? So the first one, and I want you to tell me what you think. You might have to look it up. So I want you to recommend a window type and a frame material for each of the following uses. So I want to know the window type, meaning fixed, double hung, single hung, swinging, awning, blah, blah, blah. And then the frame material you might use. So the first scenario would be an office window in a 6-story office building with no ventilation required. So what type of frame would you recommend? And you can just raise your hand or shout out. What material? an office window in a 6-story office building with no ventilation required. What do you think you'd use?
Fixed window.
What?
Fixed window.
A fixed window, because no ventilation, you don't need to open it. What kind of frame then in an office window? Aluminum. That's what I would recommend, yeah. Because that is it's inexpensive, it's strong, and mostly aluminum. You see some aluminum in commercial, in residential, but not a lot. So that would be an aluminum fixed window. The second scenario is a classroom window in a 1-story school directly adjacent to a playground, and ventilation is required. So what type of window first? Think back when you were in first grade. What type of window was in that classroom?
Well, I don't want like the awning type.
The awning?
Yeah, like up on top, there weren't really, but then again, it just depends on the building, I guess.
Yeah, it depends.
Um,
Hmm? Or sliding.
Yeah, up and down, big frame windows.
I would, when I think back to all those schools I went to, I think awnings were most, because then you could open it in the rain, and back in the days when there wasn't air conditioning. So what would it be made of, most likely? It could be aluminum, but, and then you painted them and they got all chippy. But this is a new building, let's say. So how would you make it now? Vinyl and plastic, so then less maintenance. It'd be softer looking, so the children would be happier, not feeling like they're in prison.
I'm sure they feel they're in prison.
Okay, now we're gonna replace a window in an historic New England residence. So think about what a historic New England residence window would look like. And what type of the window would you use, and what would the material be? You know where New England is? Massachusetts, okay.
Do
Basically.
you need like a storm type window?
No, this is a historic.
Historic?
You want it to match what's the ones you're not replacing. You want it to look in the time that it was built, which is like 1776. What did windows look like back then?
Like the double, no, the single hung type? Single hung?
Well, they probably were double hung actually back then,
Double? Really?
because they wanted more options.
Back
Single
then?
hung is pretty, I've seen triple hung windows from historic, like plantation houses, where they're really tall, and you want to be able to either have it open on the bottom, the middle, or the top. Double hung, I think, is a good answer. But then, what else would it be? Would it be just big sheets of glass?
The stained glass?
No, not stained. This was a church. Would there be little pieces of glass? Because back then they couldn't make the big pieces of glass.
It would be tempered.
It wouldn't, well, you could put modern glass in your replacement window. I'm just talking about, there's gonna be the mullions. So if you had a window to the left that you didn't have to replace, it was a double hung window, and it had, 6, I'm not drawing it very well, but 6 mullions on each side, so you'd want that on your new window. Now the glass could be modern glass, but you want it to look, if it's clear, you want it to be clear. But you could have insulated or tempered glass, but you probably want it to be clear because they didn't have anything but clear glass back then. And what would you make the frame out of? Wood. If you wanted to, probably if it's a historical building, you had to get historical permission and all that stuff. It has to be wood. You can't cheat and put vinyl covered wood and stuff like that, even though you want to. If you're replacing all the windows, you might do that, but if you're just replacing one, you would have to use wood. Okay. Now we have a door opening from a residential living space to an exterior patio with the greatest possible openness and ventilation. What? The greatest possible openness and ventilation. French, because both of those open, and you get the most space. So, if it's a residence, it's your residence, your new home, what kind of frame would you want?
On the door?
What material, I mean?
Steel, or what is it?
Steel?
Well, the
You want
front
it-
door usually, the front, what are you talking about, the back door?
It's a patio.
The patio, oh, I'm sorry. The French door or the sliding door?
Okay, but what's the material?
Oh.
You want a warm, cozy feeling in your home. You don't want cold, hard steel.
Would you use the aluminum with the rubber
You could, they do make vinyl covered aluminum,
or
but,
the plastic?
or just solid vinyl, or even vinyl covered wood. Like Anderson windows are usually vinyl covered wood, all the, in the, but then it's more, now they're making more solid vinyl ones, which are even better as far as expansion and contraction. Okay, so the second problem, so we've done all that, now I want you to recommend a door style. Remember, door styles are flush swinging, stile and rail swinging, bifold, coiling, etc. So a door style and material for each of these uses. So the first use, we have a door for an office in okay, this is a door for an office in 1A above, permitting, that doesn't make sense, permitting a partial view from the corridor. So a door for an office permitting a partial view from the corridor. What style of door would you use and the material?
Partial door, like with the glass?
Narrow line?
Narrow light. You'd use a narrow light, that's a thin strip of glass. And what would your material be? We didn't talk about, I mean, there's steel doors, there's wood doors. This door is a solid wood door with a, like a veneer finish, like Formica, which is most common. It's very heavy. There's nothing, it's solid all the way through. So this is most common because it's a good sound barrier, because it's solid. You had a hollow door like in your home, sometimes you have hollow doors and you can hear. Yeah. Plus if you like accidentally send your fist through it.
It's gonna go through.
Accident.
So we have the narrow light, and you could either have steel doors, but I think in an office, you'd probably want something like that, the solid wood with the plastic laminate covering. And you can choose, all kinds of different, unless you were a lawyer, then it'd be like solid wood, real wood. That's just solid particle board wood with plastic laminate finish, which is very easy to maintain because you just wipe it off. You don't have to paint it, stuff like that. Okay, so the next situation, I want a door style and a material for an exit door for the classroom above. So, I don't know why it says above. I don't get the way they worded this. But let's say an exit door for a classroom. Hmm?
That's right there. I mean, the narrow light, isn't it still? I mean-
Well, if it's just an exit door, like if we had that door, let's say we wanted to put an exit door,
Oh, okay, just a flush door.
just a flush door, probably it would be steel because that's a better fire rating. And it would also push out. This is okay here, but like if you just had a door that was strictly exit, you want it to go in the direction of travel. Because you don't want people having to wait to pull open the door. And people fall down and get trampled.
Like that's why these doors open this way instead of out.
Well, I think it's okay in this situation, but if you go to the building exit, like if we had a door from the out, to the outside from this room, it would